So the task at hand is getting my right-hand drive A31 Nissan Cefiro back on the road again for the first time in a long time. So I got this car quite a while ago now. I traded a truck for it, and I was driving it a lot. I was daily in it, I was street driving it, and you know, it was cool, but it had some major annoyances that make it kind of just like frustrating to drive compared to hopping in my little truck, putting it into drive and going. So I slowly stopped driving it as much, stopped driving it pretty much at all, and it was sitting here registered and I wasn't driving it, and I was like, well, what's the point of having this thing plated and insured if I'm not going to drive it? So took the plate off it, and here it's sat for, I mean, probably close to a year now. It's been sitting in this spot. We've mowed around it. I mean, there's, you know, there's like grass growing up through the freaking side skirt. So yeah, she's been sitting for a while, and I've come up with a grandiose plan for this car. I have a really cool slew of things I want to do to it, a purpose for it, something we're going to be building it for, and yeah, I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to kind of reinvigorate my love for this car. So before we get into that, though, I want to start driving it again. I want to put it on the road, but I know if I put it on the road as it is right now, I will just get annoyed with it again, stop driving it, and it'll be a waste. So I want to fix the things that are wrong with it. I want to check out some things as far as what my plans are, kind of pick between a couple things and get that ironed out, and just check over the car because I've never even had it on the lift. So first thing we need to do, air up these tires because they're about to go flat, and debead, and then we need to take it on the road, go for a little cruise, and I'll show you kind of some of the things that we need to fix. It's been a while. This car has hood shocks at least. You think it'll start back up? One of the things we need to change is this stupid battery terminal. I got these on Amazon. They're like car audio ones, and they are just absolute junk. All right, let's see if this thing will fire up. Okay, this is one of the annoyances. Click, 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 click. And then there it goes. I mean, this thing hasn't ran in a while, but that's one of the things it does. Gotta roll windows down. Annoyance number 2. Randomly started happening during my ownership. You can roll all the windows down from here, but none of them will roll up except for the driver's one, but they will roll up from their individual switches. So that's something I want to fix, because sometimes I want to drive this thing with the windows down and I have to like reach back here. Luckily they're easy to reach, but still, it's annoying. All right, let's whip this thing back to the shop, air up the tires, go take it for a drive. I always forget how I gotta be careful with this car. You know, the Miata's got a polyurethane body kit. You can smash it on anything, it's fine. The Subaru's, oh, sticks. We had a crazy storm. Oh, now we got a stick stuck under it. The Subaru's not low, and it's got, you know, good suspension on it. Whereas this thing's low with a fiberglass kit. So I gotta be careful, like going up on this lip. Oh, we gotta clean this out. I had this freaking sun visor in here and it just started coming apart. Now we made a mess. All right. Alright, so thing number 1, the suspension. Really stiff. Kind of uncomfortable. Bouncy. It's just kind of I need to get a set of BCs on this car and really kind of dial the thing in. He's not even cutting it at the moment. I gotta go. Oh, scraped. I haven't taken this thing down the driveway in like over a year, and the driveway has gotten worse. It's a challenge for sure. Going windows down, AC off. AC is just not cutting it. Alright, so power-wise with the RB20, we've got the boost up to about a bar. It makes the boost kind of, you're like, oh, this thing's kind of quick, and then that's it. Doesn't have anything left after that. That's it. I need to register it, but probably not going to be able to go fast enough in the neighborhood to show you the steering wheel shake, but at about like 50, 55, start getting a gnarly steering shake. It's not quite there yet. Gotta go a little faster. But it's super annoying, because if you're going anywhere where you need to cruise at above 60, it's just shaking the thing out of your hands the whole time. So as we come into this turn, another big problem, the brakes. So I'll have to show you when we get it on the lift, but basically we have the rear brakes disconnected. So brakes are pretty atrocious. They're stock brakes anyway, but then we don't have rears, so it's like very minimal braking. So when you're driving around in traffic, you know, you got to make sure to keep a distance, because you know you can't stop quick. And it's an annoyance. I need to fix it, but there's kind of a rabbit hole problem to fixing it, which I'll explain when we get this thing on the lift. You'll understand. Let's see if it's high idling. 1300. So that's another annoyance. High idle. With the AC on, it idles at like 1700 RPM. Without the AC on, it's like 13 to 1500. So you're sitting at a light, just freaking dang near 2000 RPM. The thing's idling at. So it's kind of like full power, and that's it. That's all it's got. You can rev it out, but it just past like 4000 RPM. It doesn't really. That's it. It just falls off so hard. It's just choked out by the little turbo. So it's fun to drive in the aspect that it's a turbo car, but it's like turbo is pretty responsive, and then it falls off. So it doesn't. You don't get that excitement of like the gut punch of a turbo car lagging and then pulling the red line. And these are, trust me, these are minor things. These are more like overall car things, not things that make it annoying to drive on the street like the other stuff. Just like kind of my thoughts on the car, my feelings on the car. Yeah, I mean, it runs good. You know, it doesn't have, you know, it doesn't break up, it doesn't, whatever, it's just the high idle, it just drives you crazy. And basically the point I'm getting at here with all these little things is like, they just kind of make the car uncomfortable to drive on a regular basis. You know, you're going to the store and you're like, oh, it's gonna freaking idle high, and I gotta go super careful into the parking lots and whatever, so you don't drive it to the store. And then you need to drive it an hour to go do something, you're like, oh, but it's gonna freaking shake the whole way on the highway and whatever. In the seat, I absolutely despise this seat. 30 minutes in this seat and I'm over it. I don't know why this particular seat I hate so much, but I despise it. So basically what ends up happening is, instead of driving this, I drive my truck. Hop in them, they're comfortable, the AC works great, they ride nice, I put them in drive and we go. So I want to get this thing back to the point where I enjoy driving it on the street. And that could come in two forms. That could come from it being way more exciting, so when I do drive it, it's super exciting, and it's like one of those things where you're willing to deal with the headaches to enjoy the excitement. Because right now it's not very exciting to drive, and it's kind of annoying to drive. Oh, this is what I hate about having a low car. It's like my only car that I have to be careful with. Alright, I want to enjoy it again. And to do that, we need to fix it. To drive it legally, we need to register it. So we're going to get it on the lift, see if we can take care of some of our small issues. Go register it tomorrow and enjoy it. Give you guys kind of my game plan. See the high idle now, even with the AC off, we're at 1600. I don't know why that's annoying, but it is. Like I said, I've never put this car on the lift, and we got to improvise and move to 4x4s to clear the side skirt. Luckily, this side skirt was already damaged, but definitely wasn't helping anything. And what a freaking struggle. I was riding the struggle bus to Struggle Street, got off at the struggle stop. It's funny, man. That's the most I've struggled by far putting a car on the lift since my days working at BC Racing. When I worked there, I did a lot of test installs on kits, like new development kits, and we'd have to lower the car to max low to see how far it would drop. Getting them on and off the lift at max low, oh, that was a struggle. But I mean, this was just as bad. So the difficulty is just the body kit. One, it's fiberglass. I'm used to my KBD stuff that you can't destroy it, you can't hurt it. So gotta be careful with this. I already messed this up, ran over a tree root in the yard. But yeah, you can't get to the pinch weld because it's right past the lip of the side skirt. So luckily there's jack points back here, but in the front, we had to go to the pinch weld. So I had to kind of like snake it over the top of this, and oh man, luckily I had these extensions that came with my lift, and I just barely was able to squeeze them in there. The wood was too sketchy. I was trying to make it work, and then I was like, you know what, maybe this will work. It's a long shot because you have to like pop it in from the top, but it worked. So I'm really glad about that. That's a really good way to do it. We know that for the future now. But yeah, so first time being under this thing on the lift, first time really getting any bit of a good look under it. And I gotta say, I'm pleased. You know, I noticed some rust in places here and there on the car. I was half expecting these frame rails to be completely rusted, floor pans to be rusted, but really there's not much rust under here at all, which is surprising for a Japanese import. A lot of the older Japanese imports are just so rusted out. So definitely stoked that it doesn't have rust. That's kind of like step one. I wanted to make sure that it didn't have rust. I didn't want to put a bunch of work coming up into a car if it had a bunch of rust. So one thing off the checklist, you can see the rear brakes. So basically, these pads are specific to the Cefiro, and they didn't make Cefiros here. So the only way to get them is from overseas, like New Zealand or Japan. And it ends up being like $250 for like pads and rotors for this thing. So I was like, well, if I'm gonna spend that much, I might as well convert to ZX brakes, but then I gotta change hubs or redrill rotors. And it just kind of, the downward spiral of the rabbit hole. And because of that, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. So then moving on to the front, we've got a shake. Oh, you know, all of this stuff looks fine. Do I want to replace it with stock stuff? Do I want to change to an angle kit? Do I want to go with a crazy angle kit, a simple angle kit? Everything just kind of comes back to like, comes down to what I want to do with the car. So anyway, long and hard thinking about that while this thing sat for a year, and I think we finally have a plan. I'm pretty excited about it. I really am. So first thing I want to do, the plan can go one of two directions. The weight is really going to dictate that. So what I want to do is drop it down, put it on the scales, and just get an idea of how much it weighs. You know, we can kind of roughly ballpark how much less it would be with X, Y, and Z taken out, and go from there. So let's do that. All right, everyone, post your guesses below. No cheating. What are you thinking? Give you a couple seconds and I'll tell you my guess, which I don't even know yet. Okay, I'm gonna say I want it to be, oh, it's got an RB. RBs are pretty heavy. I want it to be 28 something. I think it's realistically, I'm gonna go with 29.71. Holy cow, I was close. I was close, man. 29.62. 53% cross. That's pretty rough. So that's, you know, like right front to left rear, left front to right rear. Let's see. Partial. 57% front bias. 57, that's crazy. By contrast, my LS Miata is 54%. The FC was 51% with an aluminum block in it. This thing's 57% front biased. That is pretty wild. I gotta be honest, that's pretty wild. But you know, the RB counts for a lot of that. Not only is it a heavy, big, long iron block, 6-cylinder, front of the engine is way past the strut tower. I mean, it's past the front of the wheel, so that weight has a bunch of leverage over the front, giving us that weight bias. So if we were to put something smaller, like a 4-cylinder in here that was tucked a little further back, was a little wider, probably get that weight balance pretty good and bring the whole car weight down. So, I mean, there's definitely weight to be shaved off this thing, but I mean, again, I guess that's about what I expected. I didn't really expect a whole lot less than that. So those of you who are unfamiliar with, you know, this particular car, my Cefiro, or just these cars in general, this is an A31 chassis code Nissan Cefiro. And what this is basically a 4-door S13 with a RB20 in it. So it's kind of a cross between an S13, S chassis, and an R chassis. What makes it S chassis is the front suspension. So it has McPherson strut front suspension set up just like a 240, which is awesome, because there has been so much development on 240 front suspension stuff for drifting, whereas the R chassis Skylines have a double A-arm. A lot of people convert them. But yeah, same thing in the rear, multi-link rear. Of course, the brakes are different. We learned that lesson the hard way, but you know, otherwise everything is very similar. It has drum parking brake instead of cable pull, but basically S13 based suspension. 4-door though, RB20 instead of an SR or a CA. The cool thing about it is this was Nissan's like flagship model. So it's got all sorts of cool luxury features. You know, it's got an electric trunk pop, it's got power folding mirrors, it's got, you know, automatic windows, a bunch of really fancy features for the age of the car. This particular car has a bolt-in cage. It's got some HKS, like old school gauges. It's got a Blitz boost gauge over here, you know, typical Japanese zip tied to the roll bar. It's a cool car. I really like that aspect of it. And I like the fact that it's an S13 suspension wise, but a 4-door, because I love the way S chassis drive and there's something so unique about them, but I love 4-doors. So anyway, that's the car. That's what it is. Now, stop dragging this out. I'll explain to you guys what my build plan is for it, why I'm so excited about it. TF Works Toge Factory recently came out with an S chassis K-Series swap kit. It's a beautiful swap kit, beautiful, nice, big, high-capacity baffled pan, billet mounts, and they make everything supporting stuff. Turbo manifold, trans adapter plates, the BMW ZF Trans. So I was thinking about doing one of those in an FRS. The whole idea started with I wanted to build a street style drift car, a car that I could drive on the street, comfortable, AC, you know, something I could enjoy to drive other than drifting, something I could drive to the track sometimes, something I could go to Mexico with, to warehouse lots, and you know, just something that was as street friendly as possible, because having a track car, it has such a limited use. So I wanted to build something that had a broader use and build something for Drift Week, which is coming up here in November. So we're getting kind of tight on time. But anyway, thought about doing K-Series FRS, Turbo K-Series FRS. Then it dawned on me, this is an S13 subframe wise. So that means their swap kit would bolt right into this car, which would make life a little easier. What if we did a K-Series turbo in this car? Then we get a K-Series, super easy to find parts for. They make tons of power, super reliable, tons of aftermarket. We get a BMW ZF Trans. They're super stout, also cheap, also easy to find, lightweight. You know, they're a good, nice package Trans. All in a JDM right-hand drive car that should drive like an S13. Like, to me, I was like, light bulb, like this would be amazing. And you know, I didn't think about this before because pulling the RB20 out of here, it's not really worth that much. So I'm basically, you know, paying a premium for a JDM shell. But at the end of the day, it would be so cool. And the other thing that stopped me from wanting to do it was, you know, just finding body parts for this car. I'm not going to want to go drive and turn solo laps. I'm going to want a tandem. So I was like, you know, if I'm a tandem, I'm going to mess the car up and I'm not going to be able to find body parts. But I don't want to jinx myself, knock on wood. But I mean, the LS Miata has been together 2 years. And I've had some bumps and some collisions, but the doors are still fine. You know, most of the bodywork is still fine. So in the grand scheme of things, like, I think it should be okay. You know, maybe first drift event out, we smash and destroy 2 doors. I don't know, but it's not as much of a risk as I thought it was when I got the car and was kind of weighing the pros and cons of drifting it. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my game plan. K-Series Turbo, what I was trying to decide between was that I want to do an ITB in a K-Series build at first, have it like a nice low-powered, fun momentum car, and then down the road turbo it once I got tired of that. But I mean, the thing's gonna, maybe we can get it down to the mid 2700s once we're done with everything, but it is gonna be a full street car. I wanna keep AC, I wanna keep interior. You know, I want it to be, first and foremost, comfortable for the street. I want it to be fun to drive. I don't really care if it's I'm not trying to make it the fastest car. I'm not trying to make it a competitive Pro-Am car. I just want it to be as fun to drive as possible. Something I can go out and just enjoy driving. And then I want it to look cool. You know, like I try to make my Miata look cool and stuff, but you know, function is first and foremost of that car. That's what the car is built for. It's a cage track car meant for being the best it can at drifting, being as fast as possible. I want to build something that, you know, okay, maybe it's a little too low and the suspension geometry isn't quite right, but it looks cooler and it still drives fine. You know, that's what I want. That's what I want to focus on with this car, is just making it fun, cool, and comfortable to drive on the street. It's something that I can use more than just going to the track. So yeah, that's basically the plan. Seems logical to me. You know, it's going to be a fun challenge trying to keep AC. You know, we're going to have to make our own AC line, set up a condenser. I kind of want to do a V-mount intercooler, and there should be a lot of fab work, and that's my favorite part of building cars is doing fab work, because you're making something. So that's another reason why I'm really excited about the project. So that's what we're going to be doing, hopefully, unless something, you know, something changes. That is the plan. I just kind of go all out with it and make it just a fun, sick little car. All that being said, I was about to dive into working on this thing, and I'm like, pretty much anything we can do, we're going to have to undo when we start building it, because we're going to be swapping to 5-lug hubs and different wheels and 300ZX brakes, and we're going to be pulling the motor out, so it doesn't really matter if it idles high. So it kind of dawned on me there's really no point in registering it, because driving it around with no rear brakes, pretty sketchy, and with the other annoyances, I'm just going to end up not driving it, and then we're going to be building it. I'm not going to be able to drive it, so it's just going to be wasting money on insurance and tags. So I'm glad I didn't register it this morning like I had planned to. It doesn't really make sense. And as far as when we were going to start on the build, I want to start on it as soon as possible. Drift Week 2 is in November. Like, it's not very far off, and it'll sneak up on me quick if I'm not careful. So I really need to get going with it. But I have a major life change potentially happening, you know, and basically I don't want to be mid-project if this works out and goes through. With anything, you know, I want all my vehicles to be the ones that can, running and driving, make life easier. So I don't know, maybe I'll make a video explaining that. One, I don't want to jinx myself. Two, I don't want to get my hopes up and think that it's going to go through and talk about it going through and then it doesn't go through. You know, I've been really trying to keep my expectations low with this, but it is the reason why I haven't wanted to dive into any new projects, so I don't have non-running cars to move. That's kind of what it's about, potentially moving. So anyway, I'm going to hold off on that. I should know in a week or so, not for sure that it's going to work out, but like 95% sure. So maybe I'll make a video then. But for now, that's really all we have time for. There's not really much we can do to Cefiro. Maybe we'll get it cleaned up, but other than that, she's going to be waiting in the wings as we get parts in and get ready to start building her. And we've got most of the parts in to start building the turbo truck as well. So we got a lot of stuff coming up, but again, we're kind of in limbo at the moment. We got to wait and see how this goes here in a few days. So hopefully I'll see you guys for that. But for now, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.